Good morning, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm doing a little test here on the volume, and hopefully everything's coming out nice and clear. Give me a little indication that the sound is working okay. Nice to see everyone online this morning, nice and early. I hope everyone's doing well under the circumstances. And so this is number 12 of our live broadcasts. And every time we have one of these events, I see some new faces. So if you're online, please don't be shy. Say hello so we can get to know each other a little bit better. The whole point of these live events is to interact with one another, answer some questions, talk about gear, have a good time overall, and just make some friends. So I have a lot of stuff that I want to talk to you about today, and I think we're going to be talking about more than just gear under the circumstances. I promised myself I wouldn't go on and on about this COVID-19 virus, but I know that everybody's already thinking about this and worried about this, and it's normal. I think we have viewers from around the world, so I hope every one of you is doing okay so far. We'll get through this, man. We'll get through this. We'll stick together as a community, look out for one another, and that is the whole idea about staying safe and keeping your friends and family healthy. Everyone's looking for toilet paper. There was already a comment on that, and that's funny. I just had to comment on that. Guys, it's pretty simple. I mean, we don't have to go crazy. Keep your hands clean. Stay home, lock yourself in your studio, play guitar, and wait till the whole thing blows over and you'll be fine. You know? Antisocial people don't have a problem with this. People with social anxieties don't have a problem with this. It's just a question of keeping everyone out there under the radar as in terms of staying away from hospitals and don't overburden the system as much as possible. So let me know where you guys are at so we can get a little bit of a global view of how many people are in different parts of the world. If you can just type in where you're viewing from, that would give me a better indication of the United Colors of Benetton. So I'm in Canada. You guys probably already know this. I'm sure there's a few other Canucks out there. I know Gussie's a Canuck. He just mentioned that. We got somebody from Japan. That's pretty cool. How are things in Japan? Anyone else want to indicate where you're from? Please do. And, basically everyone that I know that has been affected by this virus is doing okay so far. So I hope that basically continues for everyone else. So we have somebody, Bob's from New Jersey. Hi, Bob. SM123 is from Siberia. Okay. Tim's from the USA. He's from Chicago. Rich is from New York. Who else? Who else is out there? I know we have more than just a couple of viewers. Henry's from the UK. Well, so guys, basically, just so you guys know, we'll get this over with because I know it's up. Everybody's talking about it. It's on social media. So we might as well just talk about it a little bit and then get it over with and start talking about other stuff because you guys are not here to worry. You're here to have some fun and talk about gear. So basically, I have family in Italy. Italy is really hard struck right now. The system is really trying to maintain itself under the humongous burden of people getting sick. and going to the hospitals. My nephew is a hospital in Milan, is a doctor in Milan, and he's on the front lines there. And the whole idea is to basically react quickly and make sure that you spread the word in terms of staying home. It's a small price to pay, but it will keep the whole system from collapsing. If people start getting sick and hospitals are over capacity, which they are normally over capacity, then definitely it's going to be very difficult for the people that do need serious medical attention. And you owe it to yourself, to your family, and your friends to take those steps, even though it's an inconvenience and you have to stay home for a couple of days or weeks or whatever it may take. The idea behind that is to slow down the rate of the spread of the virus so that we don't, cause more damage. I think the quicker we react to all of this, then the better the outcome will be. I'm still amazed at how many young people I've spoken to that honestly tell me that they feel that this is just people overreacting. It definitely is not. We see what's happening in different parts of the world, and basically those models will repeat in different areas if we do the same thing. It's as simple as that. It's just a matter of time. Fortunately, here in Canada, we still don't have that many people that have been confirmed. And unfortunately, all of the cases that we have here have been brought in from other places in the world. So I feel that if the government would have shut down airports quicker, sooner, we would probably be in a better situation overall. But hopefully things will remain under control as much as possible. We are taking steps. We've shut down the schools. We've tried to limit big events. Obviously, things are being canceled all over the world, and I think that's really the right steps to be taken. And unfortunately, that means events that are canceled that we're looking forward to. But again, it's just a small price to pay. The older people are more at risk, and those are the people that we owe it to take the steps that we need. So keep your hands clean, guys. Keep your hands clean. Stay home. Be with your loved ones. Talk. Communicate. Play your guitar, and everything will eventually blow over. We hope that somebody will develop a vaccine soon enough, and we'll be able to get over this big hoopla. So, of course, the steps that are being taken do affect certain things. Definitely, we know that the PRS, speaking of guitars and gear, let's get back to the topic at hand. So basically, PRS experience, which was scheduled to happen soon, is canceled, obviously, because of COVID-19. That would have marked the 35th anniversary of PRS, and they were planning to have something big happen, and unfortunately, it had to be canceled. What does that mean for PRS? I don't know. I mean, I think they're doing extremely well. They'd be able to withstand the financial downturn in terms of sales. And that is basically the big concern for a lot of people right now, especially in the music industry, because overall the music industry isn't doing that well. And obviously, if people are not going into shops and not buying, then it does affect the economy. I still encourage people to shop. I encourage people to continue as much as they can their life as normal. And if you can't go into stores to buy stuff, you can always order them online, order them through Amazon or through other online services, which, as far as I know, haven't stopped delivering. So there's always ways to get around things and continue your gear addiction. So let's see who else is online now. So let's say hello to a few people just so that we can see who's online. So Bob's online. Good morning. Good morning, Tim, Christopher. As I mentioned, SM123 is online. Yeye Game is online. New faces. There's a couple of new faces here this morning. Gussie's online. Fat Philosopher, nice to see you again. Paul, nice to see you again. Who else? Let's see here. Rich, Henry, good morning. The Picker Hat, good morning. He's from Germany. How are things in Germany? Hope everything's under control. Robert's in the house from Connecticut. Good morning, Robert. Christopher Thomas is in Kentucky. Nice to see you, Christopher. So basically, Werner's online as well. Hi, Werner. Ahmed, hello. So it's really nice to see that every time we have these events, that there are new faces that are joining us, and it's I'm basically trying to establish a nice community, like a family of fellow Addicted Gear members. And basically, it's really nice to see that people are coming back nice and early in the morning. Not that there's much to do on Sunday morning besides go to church, and I think that's canceled too. So a good way to have your morning coffee and just basically join the conversation either on your iPad or on your laptop or computer or whatever. So let's talk about a few things music related. First of all, I always ask the question at the top of the show. Let me know what you guys are looking at these days, what you're trying out, what you're playing, what you've acquired, anything new in terms of gear that we can talk about, any questions related to some of the videos that I put up recently. If you have any questions, I know I always get questions through the comment section, but if ever you have a question and you want to ask it directly, now's the time. You have my attention, and I'm always willing to answer questions. So let's start off with that. So SM123 says, how do you like your new Harley Benton Gold Top? Well, it's right there, right over there. It's in the background there. I like it a lot. It's the first P90 that I've ever owned. I've shunned P90 guitars for a long time because I don't know. I think the real reason was because I was never really crazy about the look of the P90 pickups. I always thought that they looked awkward, so I kind of based my opinion on looks more than anything else. But as I got used to different sounds, and it took me a long time to actually appreciate the Telecaster. Now I love Telecasters, so I thought I would reevaluate the P90 situation, because I feel that the P90, from the sound samples that I've heard, sounds a lot like a beefed up Telecaster, and because I do like the Telecaster sound, I figured I'd probably like the P90s as well. So I always wanted to own a gold top Les Paul. I can't afford to spend another $3,000 on another Gibson, and honestly, at this point in my life, I have a couple, and I don't think I need another one, and I like to work on my guitars, so I figured if I'd buy an inexpensive guitar like the Harley Bentons, I'm not afraid to work on them at all, and I figured I'd basically give myself something to do to keep myself busy. So the guitar overall, just to answer your question, the guitar overall plays really nicely. It does have faults, okay? So I'm not going to lie to anybody and say that it's a perfect guitar, especially for the amount of money that they're selling for. You can't expect a flawless guitar, and I didn't have those expectations at all. There are a couple of things where I find the guitar does actually performs very well, and then there are little areas where they can actually do better. So first of all, I know that some people won't agree with me, and some people just don't like P90s. Like Fat Philosopher says, P90s look ugly. Let's face it. I agree with you. The pickups do look ugly. The cream pickup covers don't do it for me either, but there are chrome cover P90 pickups, and they do come in other configurations if that bothers you, so it'll look more like a mini humbucker. But basically, I find that overall the guitar itself looks very nice. It's definitely inexpensive, so anybody that's on a budget should definitely check out the guitars. It's a great kick around guitar. So if you don't want to have a guitar that you have to worry about, then these guitars are great. Now, as far as the cons, obviously the resale value won't be there. I mean, you're buying the guitar very inexpensively. You can't expect to be to get your money back that easily. But if it's a guitar that you like and you want to keep for a while, definitely would be something that you could get a lot of mileage out of. I noticed on the Gold Top that the pot tapers were a little abrupt, so that it would go from like nothing to a lot of volume very quickly, and I'm not surprised because that's common in a lot of inexpensive pots. So it wasn't a big surprise for me. But basically, these are things that I normally change out. I expect to change out the switch in the pots and whatnot. The switch is cheap as well, so that's where they make they cut their corners a little bit, but that's not a big deal. So I will definitely change the pots and the switch, and the nut. Eventually, probably I'll upgrade that as well when I have an opportunity. But the biggest concern for people that are not used to dealing with doing work on your own guitars is that the frets definitely need some work, and that is a touchy situation and could be expensive if you have to bring it to somebody to do. So if you're not familiar with how to work on your frets, how to level them and crown them and polish them, then that could be an additional expense that you would need to pay for with this particular Harley Benton guitar. Now I have to say I'm on the side here. So this guy, the Telecaster, totally different story. The Harley Benton Telecaster has none of those issues in terms of the nut is perfect, the fret stainless steel, no buzzing or whatsoever. The switches seem okay. It's a different situation, but also a different price point. So for those of you that are considering these guitars, you might want to decide what you need and if you should splurge and get the higher end or more expensive guitars. As far as I know, the Telecasters are being made in the Court factory, which is in Indonesia. As far as I know, the other one, this guy here, the Gold Top, I don't know where it's being made. There's no indication on the guitar. Some people say China, Korea. I'm not really sure. All right, so let's answer a couple of questions if there are any. A lot of chit chat has been scrolling by here, so let me just go back and see what comments we have here. So Fat Philosopher says that he ordered a Dean V last week. Mistake ? I don't know. Honestly, I never purchased a Dean guitar, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't like the headstocks. I find they're atrocious. I can't even speak. Atrocious. There. I got to talk slow on Sunday mornings. I don't know if a lot of people don't mind that headstock, but that upside down huge flying V headstock is just eesh. Sorry, man. I think they would sell a lot more guitars if they would avoid those headstocks. What else? Let's see what else people are talking about. So a lot of chit chat about the virus. Fat Philosopher says Iron Maiden 2. Dream Theater coming to Japan in May. Hope not canceled. Iron Maiden 2. I don't know. I mean, shows, it's an iffy thing, man. Concerts, a lot of people. Here they're basically asking any event greater than 250 people be canceled. And that includes, we're supposed to be having the Irish St. Patrick's Day parade. That's not going to happen. For work, I had some shows scheduled, events, and those are not happening as well. So we know, who knows. And speaking of that, I mean, there's the Genesis reunion tour that was supposed to happen. I think that was starting in November. Not really sure. It's supposed to be starting this year, later this year. Who knows what's going to happen? And till that point, if they're actually going to get around to going on tour. Any Genesis fans in the house? I like Phil Collins a lot, although he hasn't been looking that great. I know he's had issues with his back and he can't really stand up for very long, and he's getting old, man. So I don't know if people are still into Genesis. I don't know if I'd pay to go see a concert at this point, a Genesis concert. I don't know. I prefer just to listen to the recordings. They were good. I've never had the opportunity to go see Genesis live, so it would be something nice, but I wouldn't risk, especially now, going to a concert. We'll see. So Tim says, I missed last week's live stream, but made sure I was on time today. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that, man. I know it's not easy for everyone to get up early on Sunday. Everybody kind of likes to sleep in on Sunday, myself included. But it's the only time I get a quiet moment in the house. My kids usually sleep in on Sunday, and it's just easier for me all around. Gussie says, "Hey Paul, play that Friedman Dirty Shirley. I have one too. Great amp." Uh, I don't know if you're referring which Paul you're referring to, but my name is Tony. I don't know if that was meant for me or someone else. Tim says he likes that new HB Telecaster I have. Thank you, thank you. It's a great guitar. I haven't had too much opportunity to play it. I go back and forth, but it really does feel nice. I'm getting used to it now, and I think I'm going to really enjoy playing it. So Fat Philosopher says, uh, today Ola said stainless steel frets overrated, nickel frets are perfectly fine. Agree. I wouldn't say they're overrated. They definitely sound different. One thing I noticed, because I have two guitars that have stainless steel frets. There's the Harley Benton, this guy, the Harley Benton Telecaster, that guy. And I also have a Sir Standard Pro, and they both have stainless steel frets. The advantage of stainless steel frets, like you guys probably already know, is that they last a lot longer, so that you don't get those annoying divots that you normally see in the upper frets. You know, when you're chording, eventually you get like these divots in the frets, and those need to be basically leveled, recrowned, polished, the whole 9 yards. That usually happens with regular wear and tear on regular frets. Now, if you have stainless steel frets, that doesn't really happen. The stainless steel is a lot stronger. It's a lot harder metal, so they last a lot longer. So in the long run, if you're a professional musician and you're playing often, the stainless steel frets will give you a lot more mileage. And I definitely think they're worth the investment in that case. If you're not a professional musician, maybe that's not something you need. There's one thing that I have to say is that, as I mentioned, they do sound different. The stainless steel frets sound a little bit more pingy to me. There's a little high-end ping that you hear when you're playing with the stainless steel frets that you don't hear when you're dealing with regular frets. That's something I noticed. So Gussie says he's playing his Friedman Mini Dirty Shirley with his 1975 Les Paul Custom. Nice. How do you like the Mini Dirty Shirley? I love my the full-sized one I have right there. It's a great amplifier. I recorded the sound samples with the Harley Benton Gold Top. The Harley Benton Gold Top, that guy, the other day. If you look at the video where I was doing the unboxing, where the little playing clip was using the Dirty Shirley there. And the thing about the Dirty Shirley is that you never get a real clean tone out of it. You can dial back the gain using the volume knob on your guitar, and it does clean up nicely, but there's a lot of gain. And those samples were basically on the low gain input, not the high gain input. So I didn't even use any overdrive pedals or distortion pedals at all. So it'll never give you that clean, spanky sound that you would get with a Fender guitar, but it definitely is an amplifier that has a lot of character and a lot of thickness to it. For the cleans, I normally go through my Fender Supersonic, which is also back there, right beside the Gold Top. How do you like your 1976 Les Paul Custom? That's for this question is for Gussie. I know what color is it? Is it black? Is it sunburst? Gold? What is it? A gold top? What is it? The Picker Hat says, I'm in love with my new little pedal board and specifically with the Vicious Vibe pedal. Play it all day long. So is that like an imitation Vibrolux? What is that Vibe pedal? I'm not familiar with that. Is that a Univibe? So Gussie says the P90s look amazing. So I guess Gussie and Fat Philosopher don't agree. I don't know if they look amazing. They look okay. I think you get used to them. But I prefer the chrome covers, or actually I always try and get nickel plated covers for my pickups. But I feel that for a gold top, if you have anything other than cream P90 pickups, it kind of ruins the traditional look of it. So I don't think I will put any kind of chrome cover pickups in there. But I would like to eventually try some other pickups in the guitar. I'm already talking about modding. Listen to me. I just got the guitar a couple of days ago and I'm already talking about modding it. I think basically, it's just like you're always looking for something new. You're always looking for something better. I actually talked to a friend of mine, and I'll be making a video on this shortly. His name is David Plummer, and he basically has a website and he makes pickups. He winds pickups, and his site is called Zangbucker. So if you want to look at that information, you can. It's ZHANGBUKER. Zangbucker Pickups, and he basically builds pickups, custom winds pickups for people. You can place your order with him, and he's a very knowledgeable fellow. And he's basically winding me a set of P90s and a Strat set as well, and he's going to be sending them to me shortly. And I'll be making some reviews on that. And ideally, since I only have one guitar that is equipped with P90s, I'm going to be putting it into, I can't get my left and right correct here. I'm going to be putting it into that guitar. And I'm just going to be comparing it. I mean, I'll do a little recording of the before and after, so you guys can compare. People are always on my back saying that You know, some of my videos don't have sound clips in them. The reason for that, guys, is because you know, I think there is a lot of information and a lot of sound samples on the internet already. There's no lack of sound samples when it comes to Harley Benton guitars, for example. So I prefer to focus on the information as much as I can, because I feel that's where a lot of these videos are lacking. They don't go into a lot of detail regarding the guitars. They basically just tell you it looks good and, you know, blah blah blah, and that's it. So I think that if somebody's looking to purchase an instrument, they definitely want to have more technical information and, you know, talk about the details of the instrument. And eventually I get around to making sound samples, because I do, you know, other videos where I'm using the guitars, where I'm either demoing an amp or pedals or something else. And so you eventually will hear that guitar as well. But I get it, people do like to hear sound samples, and I'm trying my best to include some sound samples as well. My videos tend to be a little bit long because I do have the gift of gab. I talk a lot in my videos, so adding another couple of minutes of playing obviously will make the videos longer. So Tim says, Epi Les Paul here, just a code 50, very amateur LOL. It doesn't sound amateur to me. How do you like the code 50? Is that doing it for you? Are you getting satisfaction with that amplifier? Tom Mott says P90's look and 60 cycle hum, just not for me. I agree. It's not a lot of people don't like it. Totally agree with you, Tom. It's a personal choice. The 60 cycle hum is definitely an issue with the P90s because they're not humbucking. Obviously, you can get anything today. Basically, you can get you know, you can get pickups that are wound that are noiseless. Myself, I don't really like noiseless pickups. All the ones that I've tried haven't really done it for me. They just I don't know, they're lacking something. I could live with the noise. You know, I prefer. Werner says, which sale do you regret the most? Oh, there's a lot of stuff that's come and gone over. I think it's. I don't think I can't say I regret stuff. I don't really regret any of my sales because if ever I do sell something, there's good reason for it. I'm not the type of guy that will just sell stuff willy-nilly. I'm a little bit of a hoarder, and I consider my options quite carefully before I sell something. Um, what do I regret? I think if I had to pick one thing that I may have held on to, would be the Marshall clone that I had made from Rocket Retro. Kevin at Rocket Retro, he makes, in my opinion, some of the best affordable Marshall clones. And I bought one of those. It was a great amplifier. The only issue with those amplifiers, even though I had an attenuator built into the back of it, they're just too loud. So what ends up happening is if you really want to get that Marshall cranked sound with those amps, you really can't do it at a normal volume. So you have to use pedals at that point, and it kind of defeats the purpose. If he would make a version of that amplifier that had a switch for wattage, and he could maybe make it so that it would be, instead of just 50 watts, it would be maybe 50 and 25, it would be a killer amp. And I ended up selling that amp. I considered rebuying that amplifier, but eventually I got the Dirty Shirley, and for me, the Dirty Shirley can give you all the gain you need at low volumes. So I didn't need to scratch that itch anymore. I hope that answers your question. Paul says the P90s are harsh and they do not have the Telecaster bridge spank. Yes and no. Depends on the type of P90 pickups that you use. But I agree the Telecaster definitely does have more spank to it. The P90s are a little bit more aggressive. I don't know if aggressive is the right word to use here. Maybe aggressive is not the right word. It has more, it's more raw sounding, if I can say that. But they clean up really nice. I don't have issues with the clean. I think maybe you just have to experiment with the right P90s. I'm just reading some of the comments. If I have a stupid look on my face, it's just because I'm reading. A lot of comments going across my screen right now. I lost my place. Tim says, let's all give Tony a thumbs up. Thank you, man. Thanks, Tim. I appreciate that. All right, so Fat Philosopher says Dream Theater was supposed to come to Hiroshima on May 3rd. May's around the corner. I don't know. I don't know if we'll be out of the woods by then. So Christopher Thomas says, I'm looking for a V. Does Harley Benton offer a V? I don't know. I assume they do because they kind of have models that replicate all of the most popular models. If anybody else knows the answer to that question, maybe they can help Christopher out with that. I would say they probably do. I'm not familiar with all their models. Gussie says he really digs Soap Bar P90s, the P90 look. I don't think a lot of people do, though, Gussie. I think most people don't. And I get it. Vox Guitars Rock says, I love P90s. The GFS Mean 90s I have in my Douglas Shadow Pro are great. It's not going anywhere. I got to take that down. A lot of people have been referring the GFS pickups to me. I have a set of GFS pickups in one of my Les Paul clones, and they sound pretty good. I don't have big issues with it, but I should check out the Mean 90s. So I'm writing it down. What do you like about those pickups? Just out of curiosity. Do they clean up nice? Do they have a nice spank, or maybe lack of spank? Or what characteristics do you like most about those pickups, Christopher? So Gussie says, hey Paul, you should contact another great Canadian pickup company called Vinham. They are amazing. I'll take that down. And the name is Tony. All right, Gussie. It's okay, man. It's okay. People call me a lot of things that are worse than Paul. Henry says all cheap fixes, Tony. Yeah, as long as you know what you're doing. Paul says my Ibanez Jet King has P90s. I didn't realize that Ibanez makes a lot of guitars that are P90 based. Is this a newer model or is that an older model? Tim says, I love that black Telecaster. Thanks, man. What I like most about that particular Telecaster is that it's not a Telecaster. It has a Telecaster body, but it has the humbuckers in it, so it's basically a Telecaster on steroids. It's not a typical Telecaster. You're not going to get a typical Telecaster sound from it, but I have a couple of different Telecasters that I really love already that do that for me, so I just wanted something a little bit different. And definitely having a whammy bar, tremolo bar, whatever you want to call it, on that guitar definitely makes it feel different than a regular Telecaster. If you're a regular Telecaster guy, you might not like that guitar, but I like the fact that it has the humbuckers in it. I got a cough. Don't panic, guys. It's just something in my throat. So Rich says that Jet King guitars are great. I haven't had the opportunity to actually try one of those. And Fat Philosopher says Harley Benton has a V for about $100. Can't go wrong with that, man. If you're handy and you could customize, you will definitely get your money's worth, I think. So the Gospel of Mark says, I'm really gassy, got a Jazzmaster just for some different tones. Most of my guitars have humbuckers. So what are you gassing over exactly? Now that you have the Jazzmaster. Rich says Dean uses two different headstock shapes. So besides the upside down V shape, what's the other one? What does the other one look like? I have to take a look. Fat Philosopher says Genesis is okay, but they're no Led Zeppelin. I agree with you, man. Nobody's Led Zeppelin. I have what do I have? I have this guy here. This is my Jimmy Page. I don't know if you guys noticed it in the videos, but I have a portrait of Jimmy Page. I basically pray to Jimmy Page regularly to give me the chops I need. Jimmy's the man. It's gonna be a sad day when Jimmy's not around anymore. I'll tell you that much. I'm a big Led Zeppelin fan, and I'm proud of it. Ibanez started out just having the Gaiatone LG 130T rebranded as the Jet King. They did not make guitars for several years. You know, I gave Ibanez, my first guitar ever was an Ibanez guitar. And it was a black Strat copy. I couldn't afford a Strat at the time. It was the first guitar I convinced my mom to buy me. She bought me that guitar and a little EG amplifier, which was garbage. The guitar I kept for a long time. It was a Roadstar 2, completely black, rosewood fretboard, black painted headstock, black hardware, and they had a whammy bar, tremolo bar. It wasn't a Floyd or anything like that, because I don't think I think Floyd's were just starting to come out at that time, but they had their own proprietary tremolo bar, and I kept it for a long time. And it actually was a very good guitar, and I really, it hurt my heart selling that guitar because it was the first, and my mom bought it for me. But eventually, I had to let it go. So maybe that's one of the guitars that I regret selling. Somebody was asking me at the beginning if I have any regrets. Yeah, maybe I would have liked to keep that for sentimental reasons. But since then, I've tried other Ibanez guitars, and I didn't really bond with them. I don't know why. I think it's the combination of things. I made a video of the Ibanez Gem, and I also had a couple of other Ibanez guitars, and eventually I ended up selling them. The pickups on the lower end guitars were not great. I do, however, like the new models that they're coming out with now. What I don't like is the price point. They're just too expensive in my opinion. You can get, I mean, look, the Harley Benton guitar, the Strat version that I just reviewed not long ago, has very similar features to the Ibanez guitars, and it sells for a fraction of the cost. So I don't know. I just feel I have a bad taste in my mouth when I see the prices on those guitars. Vox Guitars Rock says, I was late again. Grandkids are down and man tires me out chasing them around. Tires you out. Hang in there, man. Hang in there. Grandkids, they're a handful. They keep you in shape, though. They keep you young. No problem, Gussie. Don't worry about it. Guitar and why no? Any experience with the Shawbucker pickups? I'm interested in HH Strat, but unsure about those pickups. I've heard good things about those pickups. I haven't had any guitars with them installed, but I have a feeling that they are going to be good. From the video reviews that I've watched, they sound good. So I don't see why they wouldn't be they wouldn't do the job for you unless you're looking for something very specific in terms of tone. But there's a lot of pickup options out there, not too expensive ones as well. So you can definitely get specifically what you need. And if you're really after a specific tone, there's a lot of great winders out there. And if you go to my addictedtogear.com website and you go under the link section, there's a huge link of places you can get pickups from. Check out some of those links. There's a lot of good winders out there, and as I mentioned earlier, my buddy David Plummer from Zangbucker will be more than happy to wind whatever you need. Gussie says that Gold Top vid sounded excellent. Thank you, man. That was just the guitar going into. I have a couple of pedals, but I wasn't using any distortion or anything, so it was just a reverb pedal, TC Electronics, going into my MXR analog delay pedal, the carbon copy, and was going straight into the amplifier. Do you have any idea about the Jackson GSS22 arch top black satin? I'm thinking about buying one. My experience with the Jackson guitars, they're a lot of fun to play. I have a red one in my I have a red one right there in my stack, and it's a very inexpensive version. I think the one you're talking about is a little bit more expensive. I'm not a big fan of the arch tops on the Jacksons, just in talking about looks. No, I'm not talking about anything else, but if it's got the Floyd on it and the locking nut, you should be fine. They're fun guitars. What's your favorite 12-inch speaker for a 212 cabinet or a combination of speakers? Any preferences? Yeah, I have. I've experimented with a lot of speakers. So in back of me, I have. Let me just duck out of the way. Okay, so this 412 cabinet here is a classic Marshall cabinet. It's got G65s in it, which I think sound amazing. Those are my favorites so far. Other than that, if I duck out of the way, the Egnator cabinet underneath my bass breaker there has a Mojo Tone speaker in it, which I chose because it breaks up earlier, sounds nicer in terms of a single 12, because you can get some nice overdriven tones out of it. And then there's a I can't get, let me just move out of the way here. Then there's that guy, the V cabinet, which you see there. That V cabinet has Guitar Warehouse speakers in it. And it has a set of 65s, which is sort of their clone of what I have in the cabinet. Do they sound the same? No, they don't. There's a 65 in there, and there's, I believe it's a Veteran 30, if I'm not mistaken. Man, I go through so many speakers that it's hard for me to remember. I think I wrote it down. Let me check here. So in this we have the 65s, yeah, and the Retro 30. And there's my dog sleeping, and you can probably see her there. The Retro 30. And so that combination sounds pretty good in a 212 if you're looking for something that can do a lot. But definitely I would say if you can get the Celestions, the Rollo Celestion 65s, those are my favorite by far. I also had a Creamback for a while, and that one sounded okay too. It depends what you're looking for in terms of a tone. Paul says, I use a 50 watt Plexi, but if I were buying new, the Dirty Shirley is a refined Plexi, and it is a killer amp. Yeah, definitely. I agree with you on that, Paul. Dave makes amazing amplifiers. They're just so expensive. I got lucky. I ended up saving my money to buy the Dirty Shirley. I was after a 45 watt Marshall sound, and to be honest, it doesn't sound like a Marshall. It sounds like a recorded Marshall. So if you ever had the experience of playing with Marshall amplifiers, you'll know that in the room they sound very different than when they're recorded. And that cranked Marshall sound that you hear on the recordings is very difficult to get in a room. The Friedman amps are made in such a way where they just sound like what you would hear on a recording, and that's why I love them so much. I'm pretty sure that amplifier is not going anywhere. And I have another amp behind me, the Brunetti Plexi Man, which is also a great amplifier. I don't know if you can see it there. It's the black and cream amplifier there. That's made in Italy, and I've had that amplifier for a while. Also a great Plexi style amplifier. But it's definitely different than the Friedman. That one, the Brunetti, you do have to crank it a little bit more, but it does have volume switching, so you can go down to 5 watts with it, which is really great. And it does have switchable channels, so you have a clean and a dirty. So it has a lot more features than a typical Marshall does, and it also has a foot switch, and it does a lot of things that are really nice. The Friedman is basic. There's no foot switch. You plug it right in, and that's it. There's an effects loop on it though, which is great. So going back to my question, the Picker Hat says, kind of Univibe, has a chorus section and a vibrato section. Sounds fantastic in stereo. I don't have a Univibe pedal on my board, so I got to go back and maybe take a look at that. Where did you pick that up? And how much does it cost? I'm just wondering. I'm going to check out some videos on that. Bobby Fee says, can you put a link to your pickup guy for us? Yeah, definitely. I'm going to be also doing a video once I get those pickups. But you can look him up. Again, I'll mention his name. It's David Plummer, and his website is ZHANG Zang Bucker, Buker. Tell him I sent you. Fat Philosopher says the sound clips on demo videos are mostly filtered, though. Computers anyway, so it's not the true sound. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you. And that's another reason why I don't go out of my way to do sound samples, because it's never going to be what you're hearing in the room. It's very difficult. Wankfest. Exactly. Sound samples sometimes degrade into a wankfest. I agree. And I try not to play anything specific because I'm going to be demonetized if you play clips, sections of songs. And it's kind of hard for me not to play those things. And so then when I'm making a sound sample video, I'm just basically playing whatever's coming into my head. And it doesn't sound like anything, but hopefully it still gives you guys an impression of something. Memag Newman says, did you have a chance to demo play any of South Korean Artec humbuckers? Allegedly, Iron Gear pickups are made by the same company. I do have Iron Gear pickups, and if it's the same company, then the answer is yes. The thing with Iron Gear is by the time it gets to your door, they're not that much of a great deal here in Canada. Maybe in the UK they are because they're pretty inexpensive, but in my experience with the VAT tax, the VAT tax, they're not that the deal's not that great. So unless I can buy Artec pickups directly somewhere for a good deal, there's other pickups that I prefer. And if I'm not mistaken, the Artec doesn't sell the pickups directly, do they? Do they have a website that you can buy them? Yeah, the Iron Gear stuff is not made in the UK, as far as I know. They're supplied to them from some kind of overseas company. Padded Pelroom says, are you planning to try the Harley Benton speaker cabinets? I don't have plans for that because I already have a 412, a 212, and a 112, so I really don't need more speaker cabinets for the moment. I do hear good things about them, and they seem to be pretty inexpensive. I don't know what they would turn out to be if you include the shipping and the duties, because it's a big box. I have a feeling it would be pretty expensive to ship it over. Um, the answer to that is no. I do have a Headrush FR system on the way, and that is because I want to have something specifically for my multi-effects unit. So I've been looking forward to getting one of those. It should be here by next week. Love my Marshall 412 with 25-watt greenbacks. A lot of people love that combination. Greenbacks sound great. 25 watts, I guess, break up a little earlier. So yeah, I'm sure they sound great. Wolf and Agile are topping my watch list right now. The Wolf guitars seem nice, and I've seen a couple of Agile guitars that also seem nice as well, but they're more on the budget side of things. At least the Agile ones that I saw were. Somebody's saying that the Epiphones have bad fret jobs sometimes. Yeah, fret jobs on guitars are all over the place. The guitar that I felt was the most put together the best was, well, the Sir that I have is flawless, but also the Music Man that I had. I had a Music Man guitar at one point, and the neck on that thing was really comfortable. The only thing with the neck on that particular one was because it wasn't finished. It was like it was just wax finished. Felt really great, but the nut end of the neck was too thin for my hands. That's the only reason I got rid of it, because it was a really a great neck on that guitar. YouTube demonetizes 50-year-old Christmas songs. It's crazy now. Tell me about it. They're really like pushing the envelope when it comes to making it hard for anybody putting out content. Imagine this: YouTube is getting free content out of me. They're making billions of dollars, and they nickel and dime us. I mean, we're hardly getting any kind of we're hardly getting making any kind of you know profits or anything like that. The amount of time and energy that we put into these videos, it's a joke how much we actually get out of it. So YouTube should be thanking us instead of making it harder, but I don't think they care. The little guy always gets the shit end of the stick, as they say. So Paul says Artec has a website, so I guess it's artec.com, something like that. I'll make a note and I'll check it out after this video. The thing about these inexpensive pickups is that if you ever go to YouTube and just try and watch some videos of the different types of pickups that they have there to get a better idea of what they sound like, the videos are either really old or really badly recorded. And so it's really hard to get like a good idea of what the pickups sound like. I just wish, like, Artec or GFS and all these other Iron Gear would just maybe make some good quality sound samples of their pickups, maybe some videos, and put them up. Like, make them themselves is what I mean. Paul says that Artec make the Duncans that are in the Made in Korea guitars. Really? So Duncan has an OEM agreement with Artec? That's interesting. So Ed's asking me on advice on aftermarket P90 close to Gibson or Les Paul specials. Of course, the big name winders, DiMarzio, Seymour Duncan, they definitely will be able to offer you something along those lines. If you're looking for something inexpensive, then there's, like we mentioned earlier, there's Artec, there's Iron Gear, there are winders that will do the job as well. I've dealt with a few people. Porter pickups make great pickups that they've done for me. Monty Guitar in the UK makes fantastic pickups as well. Who else do we have? Sanford Magnetics in Canada makes great pickups. He also has a great set of P90s as well. So Joe says that his Friedman is great, the neck is superb. I have a feeling that the Friedman guitars, their claim to fame are really the necks. Because I think that if you put a great neck on an average guitar, it makes the guitar overall much, much better. And the only thing I don't like about the Friedman stuff is just like way overpriced. It would have been great if they came out with some budget versions. So the padded pedal room is asking me if I ordered the 8-inch or 12-inch FR speaker. I went with the 8-inch because a lot of people were saying that there wasn't a huge difference between the 8 and the 12, and I wanted something that was more compact so I can actually carry it with me. The idea is to take it with me to some gigs. I've been using the Ampero for the first time, and it did a great job. I was going through the monitors in the rehearsal studio, which really had way too much bass, and it overpowered everything. So I'm hoping that the 8-inch version will do the job. If not, I'll just return it and I'll get the 12. Somebody's saying, anyone ever hear about the Sam Ash House brand Brownsville? I have an LP style made in Korea around 2003. Very good build quality. No, I never heard of that. I didn't realize they had a house brand. Gotta check that out too. I wonder who else is going to come out with house brands, you know? There's a lot of guys that are on YouTube coming out with house brands, with their own brands as well, but they're just getting them made overseas. XS Guitars will do custom builds for between 500 and 750. That sounds pretty reasonable. I'm going to check those guys out as well. By the way, Porter pickups also make guitars. They make their own custom guitars, which are really nice looking and playing guitars as well. Yeah, Joe, I agree with you. You know, Seymour Duncan, DiMarzio, they do have sound samples, although they're maybe not the best sound samples. It's better than nothing. There's just too much choice. When it comes to pickups, it's really hard to get an idea because most of the time the people that are playing them on YouTube are playing them through different gear. The way they're recorded definitely affects the sound. You can hear some pickup samples and they sound fantastic, and then you buy the pickup and they're like, meh. So the recording and the gear that they're using to make these sound samples can make a pickup sound like night and day. Joe says, I like my Lawler P90s. Yeah, I heard good things about Lawler P90s as well. Definitely they make great sounding pickups, so that's another avenue for sure. Paul says, Duncan facilities are not big enough or set up for high volume. Guitars like Charvel, etc., sell high volume of Korean made guitars. You know what? The Charvel guitars to me are still one of the better values out there because they're solidly built guitars. They don't cost, like, they're not cheap, but they still seem to be below $1,000. Especially on the used market, you get a really nice guitar with a good neck for decent money. You know, the funny thing about pickups, because we're talking about pickups right now, is that you can buy DiMarzio or Duncan pickups that are going to be they're supposed to sound like, for example, classic 57s from Gibson, which I particularly love in my 335. But then when you go online, you look at eBay, for example, you could come across used versions of these pickups for almost less money, or often less money than the Duncan stuff. and the DiMarzio stuff. So if you're patient enough, you could come across some deals and end up snagging some really nice sounding pickups for not too much money. So Chapman and Anderson's house brand. HB is Thomann. Sam Ash sells Michael Kelly. So Joe says, I spent an afternoon listening to dozens of pickups until I settled on my pearly gates. Need good studio monitors and a good headset. Yeah, you definitely need to have studio monitors or a headset. But even with that, it's really, you have to listen to a lot of videos to make sure you're really getting an accurate representation of what the pickups can do. Don't be afraid to go with custom winders, custom pickup winders, because there's a lot of guys out there that really know what they're doing. Another one that I'm going to recommend to you guys, and he's not well known, and his website is called High Order Pickups, all one word, High Order Pickups. And basically, he winds the pickups himself. You tell him what you need, and he'll wind them for you. I have a set in my Tokai Les Paul, and it sounds really, really great. I had a bridge pickup that was wound by him, and the neck was wound by someone else, or was a different type of pickup. I swapped that out. I contacted him. He made a matching set, and it sounds wonderful. Also with nickel covers. I really like nickel covers on my pickups. Feta Fried Rice says, I have a guy I buy 57 classics from for $200 for the pair. You have a guy. Did it fall off the truck? You can be honest with me, I'm Italian. So who is this guy, and how do you know these pickups? Are these like real 57 classics, or are they, Epiphone 57 classics? What are they? When it comes to pickups, guys, there's combinations out there that people brag about all day long on YouTube. For example, the JB pickup and the JB and the 59. Good combination, bad combination. You have to really try them in your own guitars, try them yourself. And that's the thing about pickups. You don't really get the opportunity to do that. And they might work in some guitars, and on others they just don't sound as good. I had a set that I took out of my Charvel, and it came with, I think it was 59s and the JB, and I didn't like that combination. A lot of people do, but for me, it just didn't do what I wanted it to do. So guys, we've been online for over an hour already. If you guys want to keep going, I got a few more minutes. By the way, I messed up my cup the other day. I cracked it. It's broken in 3 pieces, but I have a lot of super glue that I use for my guitars, so I patched it up. It's still doing the job, but I guess I have to order another one. If you guys are interested, some people were asking me about Swag, the other live event, and I put some stuff online. So if ever you're interested, just go on to. I'll put the link down in the comments. You can go there and pick up either a cup or a shirt or whatever. We have some pretty good stuff out there, and it's available. So if you guys like it, take advantage. Actually, I almost forgot. I wanted to mention this because we're getting close to getting to 13,000 subscribers. We're not far off. I think we could probably do that by the end of the week. And I wanted to celebrate that and say thank you for everyone that's been tuning into my shows, because it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a nice journey, and I've made a lot of friends, and I really appreciate you guys sticking with my channel, coming online for these live events. I look forward to them, and I really enjoy talking with all you guys as well. So I'm putting a 50% discount code, 15% till the end of March. So if anybody does want to pick up some merchandise, definitely use that and save yourself some money. But I'm really happy that we're getting to about 13,000 subscribers. I've I made a black t-shirt available as well. There's white with different colors that you can choose from. People were asking me for that, but I also put a black one that I'm not sure if it appears, if it's already appeared or not, but basically it's going to be there eventually. So take advantage of that, and thanks again for all the support. Vox Guitars is asking me where my puppy is. My puppy, she's not a puppy, man. She's like 10 years old. She's right there. There you go. She's not dead. She's just sleeping. You can hear her snoring. She's always there, so sometimes I have to kick her out because she's a little noisy when I'm making my videos. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is Joe Satriani. He's supposed to be coming out with a new album called Shapeshifting, and this is supposed to be out April 10th. Again, with all the virus stuff, we don't really know if it's going to happen. I'm hoping it is. I really like Joe Satriani, but I have to admit, and I'm not going to lie, the virtuosos out there, they're great. I really appreciate them for their technique and all that kind of stuff. But after a while, the stuff gets a little boring and repetitive. So I'm just not going to lie. I appreciate Joe. He's an amazing person, amazing musician. Joe, Steve Vai, and all the other virtuosos, they're great. I wish I could play like them. And I wish I had the knowledge, the musical knowledge these guys have. They're like encyclopedias. But after a while, it gets a little boring. Ed made me laugh. He says, "I thought that was you breathing hard." I hope not, man, because if I'm starting to breathe like that, I'm gonna get worried now. No, it's my dog. She's just sleeping. One thing I wanted to also talk about is I also came across the brand new Joyo R11 Batson pedal. I don't know if you guys saw this yet. This pedal is apparently 8 overdrive pedals and distortion pedals in one. And I saw a couple of videos online, and it looks like they have a variety of different tones, from what they call the TD Overdrive, the Sweetie, the B Boost, the T808, which is obviously a clone of the Ibanez Overdrive, Overdrive 1, Crunchy, Rioter, and OC Drive. So that's something that looks interesting because it's all in one pedal, although it is a larger pedal. I'm interested in seeing if that's any good and what kind of prices they're going to be selling at. Whatever takes less room on my pedal board is always appreciated. I just did a video yesterday, actually, which I'm going to be posting sometime this week, where I'm downsizing my pedal board. I've had a pedal board that I've been using for years, and it's a pedal train pedal board. It's quite large, and I actually switched over the pedals I had on that board to a smaller board that is made by NUX. And it has 2 levels, and I managed to shrink the footprint a little bit and get things a little bit more compact. There's 8 pedals on my board right now, and I'm just trying to get things smaller and more compact and easier to carry. So I'll be posting that video soon if you guys are interested. And I'm just going through the entire setup of how I normally put together, physically put together a board. It could be a little bit boring for you guys. Maybe you guys don't geek out on that stuff, but I figured I'd put it out there anyways. Henry says Satriani was asked if he believed in God. He said yes if he's called Jimmy Page. That's funny, man. I'm a big Jimmy Page fan, like I said earlier on, man. And it's to me, Jimmy is like sloppy. He's a sloppy player. He's got, he doesn't have nearly the dexterity of these young virtuosos, and but there's just something about Jimmy Page's playing. It's meaty, it's raw, it's sloppy, but it's got a lot of feeling in it, and that's, to me, that's the most important thing. I prefer to listen to somebody that plays one note and can make me cry than somebody that's playing a gazillion notes really fast, and has no feeling. So, just my opinion on that, guys. I know there's going to be people out there that are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. And believe it or not, there's people out there that don't even know who Jimmy Page is. So, I don't know if I could be friends with those guys. Have you guys seen? Have you guys seen the PRS private stock Dragon that they came out with? This guitar is like crazy, and this is a guitar that they came out for the 35th anniversary. I can't imagine how much they're going to be charging for this guitar. It's going to be crazy. This thing looks great though. It's like it's got this what they call a frostbite dragon's breath finish, and it's got like a decorated fretboard, and it just looks like awesome. It's like a great guitar, but it's the type of guitar you would never play because you would be so afraid of putting a ding in it, and it probably costs like a gazillion dollars because they're only making 135 of them because it's for the 35th anniversary. So I'm sure this guitar is gonna cost a fortune. You're gonna have to give them a kidney and a nut and some other stuff to be able to afford this guitar. If any of you know the price that they're selling these guitars for, please let me know. I just want to have a chuckle because I'm all for beautiful guitars, but it's getting crazy. PRS is like, they're great guitars. I have to admit, they're great guitars. They play fantastically well, but it's just like you can't buy a guitar that costs more than your car. It doesn't make any sense. And I also had a chuckle when I was looking at the video on Steve Vai's musical guitar collection that was posted not too long ago, and he went through a bunch of his guitars, and he has so many guitars. It's really crazy, and the stuff that he likes is really a question of tone, and he's got the Sustainiac system on his guitars, and these guitars are made specifically for him. And he showed a guitar where the whammy bar was like a Floyd Rose whammy bar, but it was cut in two, so you can you can affect like three of the strings at a time, the top three or the lower three strings. It's crazy. It's like the stuff that this guy's probably seen and the stuff that's been presented to him. He showed a guitar that had like double the amount of frets on it, so you can play like the in-between notes or tones. I don't even know how you would play something like that. And at one point, he also had a guitar where the frets were compensated. So instead of being straight frets along the fretboard, they were all curved, so that no matter what chord you would play, the chords would be in tune with each other. All the notes in the chord would be in tune, because as you go up the fretboard, normally the intonation gets wonky. So it's crazy, all the stuff that he has. And he was going through the stuff and explaining it, and I really geek out on that stuff, just to see what he really what he has, what he likes, what he plays. There was a couple of really typical guitars in his collection, as well as the Telecaster. He had some Strats, and he did mention that his first guitar ever was a Strat. I think it was a 76 Strat, and that was his first, what he considers his first real guitar. And then his second guitar was a Charvel, which ended up being, I think, turned into the Green Monster that he played through. I think it was Alcatraz and the beginning of his tour with David Lee Roth. But it's just cool that he started off with a Strat and then went from there, and has been playing Ibanez forever. But the funny thing is that when I was watching the video and he was talking, you can watch that video. It's online. My impression is he's sounding more and more like Christopher Walken as he gets older. Just pay attention to the accent. You can hear it. And I just had a chuckle. It was funny. You know, I like Steve. He seems like a good guy, and he seems like a little bit of a like he's a master at what he does, but he seems like a goofy kind of guy. I'm sure if on one-on-one he's kind of goofy. So somebody's saying that the Dragon PRS is $16,500 USD. Wow. Crazy. I wonder if it comes with a hard shell case, or if they just throw in a gig bag. I'm just joking. I'm sure it's a gig bag. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure it's a hard shell case for that kind of money. They should actually bring it to your house, deliver it in person for that kind of cash. Could you imagine? Like, you can buy a shitload of guitars for $16,000. Well, man, if you have the budget for it, great. You know, fantastic. I'd love to be able to own a guitar like that, but that's not going to happen. I've been eyeing a lot of acoustic guitars lately, and some of these classic Martin guitars and vintage Martin guitars. But those two, I mean, you're looking at a lot of money for those classic acoustic guitars, you know, and they're getting more and more expensive, but they're also getting more and more rare. So I don't know if it would be a good investment, you know. Overall, I could tell you one thing: the Harley Bentons and the Ibanezes and all these things that are made in volume are not going to be an investment at all. But if you can get the older stuff, although it costs more money, they will definitely go up in value. So that's one way of looking at it and justifying it. If you're having that discussion with your wife, you know. Most of the time when you're having a discussion about guitars or guitar prices with your wife, you're in trouble. Best to steer clear. Beato is amazing, but his playing just doesn't do it for me either. I like Rick. He seems like a good guy, and he's very knowledgeable. And he has more music knowledge in his little pinky finger than I'll ever have. But I don't really watch him for his playing. He's entertaining in the stuff that he talks about. I like his show for that. Love Japanese made guitars, especially my Ibanez. Yeah, the Ibanez, the Japanese versions were great. The one I bought, my first Ibanez that I bought, was actually made in Japan. And at the time, I thought it was like not a good thing because in those days, you know, when you were buying a guitar that was not made in the U.S., it was kind of like considered like, it's only a Japanese instrument. Nowadays, people look for them. Japanese guitar companies do excellent QC. I would definitely agree with that. The Japanese companies take pride in their work. And they put out good stuff. If you look at any Japanese instrument, most of the well, any I'm sure there's exceptions to the rules, but overall, I feel that yeah, definitely they're a step above. I have a Japanese reissue Strat, and it's way up there. I've played a lot of like new Strats in the stores and whatnot, and they're nowhere near the quality of that guitar. It just feels different. It's a different feel overall. You can't explain it. You just have to try one. Fat Philosopher says I would chop off my fretting arm if I could meet Jimmy Page. That's been a dream of mine, to sit down with Jimmy Page and have a conversation. I would love to be able to do that. I was really jealous when he was doing the book signing that he didn't actually sign his books. I felt like that was kind of a cheap, but I understand why he's not doing that. I mean, his signature is worth a lot of money. He was stamping the books. Like, people were waiting in line to buy his book, and like, I'd wait in line to just shake Jimmy Page's hands. I would. Unfortunately, he didn't come to Montreal. I think it was in Toronto. But then he just stamped the book instead of signing it. I'd love to be able to have a signature. Fat Philosopher says signature models might be a good investment since so many rockers are getting older these days. I don't know, man. I mean, yeah, it could be, but it's like they're still mass produced, you know. So I guess you can maybe try that as a, you know, try it and see, but I don't, I would say that they're not. I would say like all these guitars that are coming out, like even when Fender comes out with their, Diamond series, 50th anniversary and blah 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 25th anniversary, there's nothing special about those guitars. They just put a sticker on it, or something on the headstock. But they're not like worth more because they're regular Strats. There's nothing special about them. So I wouldn't. I would say not. Like, as an example, okay, the Tokai guitar that I purchased, when I bought it, I paid it $600. Now the Tokai guitars, if you go online, they're like double and triple that. And that's a Japanese one. I have two that are made in Japan. So, in a couple of years, those prices have skyrocketed. And, it's not a Fender, it's not a Gibson, but they're good quality guitars that are sought after. And now you're going to be hard pressed to find any Tokai that are made in Japan that are going to be less than $1,500. If you find one, grab it. The Japanese Squires are the same. Exactly. The E series stuff, I think they were considered, yeah, they were considered being inferior, and now people are looking for them. Have I ever played a Don Electro? A Dan Electro, you mean? No, I have not. I'm a big Jimmy Page fan and everything, but I haven't played one of those. I just don't like the look. Sorry guys, I know it's not right, but look has a big part in the guitars that I look at and play. I don't know. It's not for me. It's like the Rickenbackers, like the Rick. I've tried Rickenbacker guitars. A friend of mine had one, and I tried it in the store, and it definitely has that, old look to it, and the whole Beatles thing. But it's not a guitar that I would purchase. Paul saying, Fat Philosopher saying, I'm looking at the 10 site right now, but for the life of me, I can't find a custom order form. Yeah, maybe you need to email them. Some guys deal that way. They just don't want to have, it's a direct conversation with them. All right, guys. Well, we're at 1:34. I think we went a little bit over today, which is okay. I think we had a nice conversation, and I really do appreciate you guys tuning in and talking about all this great gear. I think definitely looking forward to next Sunday. Again, hopefully everything will die down in terms of what's been going on around the world, and I hope to see everyone back again next Sunday, hopefully in good condition, no issues. I'm praying for you guys, and I'm gonna keep putting out these live videos as long as we can do it, and we'll get through it together. Got to think positive, guys. Keep playing those guitars, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with locking myself in my studio, producing videos and playing my guitars. It's just the rest of my family and friends that I worry about. So for the time being, guys, let's think positive, and get through it. Have a good afternoon, you guys. Tim, thanks for tuning in. Thank you for all the great feedback, and stay tuned for more videos on my channel. There's going to be more stuff coming. So hopefully I'll see your comments, and we'll keep the chat going till we can meet again next Sunday. All right, guys, hang in there. See you soon. Keep rocking. Stay tuned.